Stenciled and stamped backgrounds are fine for cards, but can be somewhat boring when simply attached to a card base, right? But I have discovered a secret ingredient that takes those boring backgrounds and changes them to amazing. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik. And just look what happens when just one die is added to this background. I stenciled it with an older Christmas snowflake stencil from Stencils, and that's pretty, but just look, when you add one die to that background, add a sentiment and a few gems, and now you have a pretty amazing card. Just look at this gorgeous card made with a stencil from Altenew. I just think that that is beautiful. And what is the secret ingredient? The postage collage die from Waffle Flower. I also used a sentiment die and stamp from Waffle Flower on that one. The Waffle Flower has many different stencils and stamps in the postage collage line, and I purchased a few of them and had a play with them. This one has the postage stamps and then the postage collage everyday stencil. So of course it has that same die, and then it has the stencils that go into each one of those openings. You also can cut this die apart, so you can make what looks like postage stamps and have them separated. And in this case I raised that one, and that one was made with the postage collage rose stencil. And then they have the postage collage coloring stencils, which has one that just colors the inside, and then you can add these patterns. And also has this really cool border, and then I raised this and I raised these pieces even more. But what I find fascinating is that you can take just any stamp or any stencil and just really up the game, okay? So here I stamped this pretty tiger cub from the Stacy Stamp Collection, and I stamped him on a subtle background paper. And I could layer it and add a sentiment, but just look at this card now. I just think by cutting it out with the Waffle Flower Postage Collage die and adding a stamped sentiment that's also die cut, then all of a sudden you have just a really cool card. I couldn't resist these Winnie the Pooh stamps and dies from Impression Obsession. There's a really cute Tigger one, and Winnie the Pooh and other stamps, and even background paper. And you could make really neat cards with just them. But when you die cut them and pop it up on with that postage collage die, all of a sudden I think you have a much more interesting card. Here's another one where I used the background paper. I added the various Pooh characters and just a note to say I care. And again, much more interesting and fun because I used that special die. I cased the idea to use Tim Holtz's eye chart stencil with the funny sentiments from Unity from a card I saw somewhere on Facebook. But when I got them, I just wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. But when I used the stenciling and some inking and cut it out with that postage collage die, and then I raised this with that really funny sentiment from Unity, I now have a great, unique, funny card for somebody with a great sense of humor. I'm going to show you how to step up a pretty stencil background just by adding this secret ingredient. I have attached a A2 size piece of white cardstock to my Waffle Flower grip mat. So that's going to hold that down while I do the stenciling. And I am going to attach this pretty Crocus stencil from Pretty Pink Posh. So I am just going to attach it and press down here on the sides onto the grip mat, and that will hold the stencil and the paper in place. I'm going to have some purple and yellow crocuses, like croci. Anyway, some pretty spring flowers here with this stencil. And so the center one is going to be a bright purple, and then I'm just going to fade off a little bit as I go out to those edges. Nice and bright here, and then a little bit lighter as I fade off. And then I'm going to have some yellow ones. And then I'm going to take some mowed lawn to the leaves here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the darker Rustic Wilderness Distress Inks to parts of this, just for a little bit of shading. That should be good. So our stenciled background is complete. Now that again is really, really pretty, but if you just put it on a background, I don't think it's as interesting. I always figure you either need a fun folder, a technique, or something to make it really interesting. So I'm going to die cut this with the Postage Collage die from Waffle Flower. Now I want this to be on here very evenly because I'm going to use the outside edges too. Of course, my die cut machine is just too big to have on camera. and those pieces are done. I'm going to add a little more color to that and then finish up the card. So I put this back on my grip mat and put the sides back on too. And then I'm going to add some of the mowed lawn. Some of it's probably still on the brush a little bit. So I want it all along the outside edge and also on the outside edge of the postage collage. So it's picking up that ink along the edge, which I think is a really pretty look. I think this part here is pretty good. It's got good green all around. I might want to add a little more here. And this grip mat just cleans up really nicely with just a baby wipe. So I'm going to glue this down on an A2 card front, but first I want to get rid of these extra pieces here, and I found the easiest way to do that was just to take a pokey and do that, and see how they just pop right out. No need to individually poke each one, which was nice. And I take a peek at the back and all my holes are out, and that's ready to go. So first I'm going to glue this on, make sure I have it the right way. I do. Of course, I'm using my favorite glue, the Barely Art glue, and with the fine tip needle. And because it has glue and not something else, I have a minute to move it around. Make sure it's on there straight. Pretty good. I see a little white here. Okay, and then I'm going to add this, but I'm going to raise it. So I am going to use some square pop dots. It's not real tall raised, but just enough that you can see the difference between the part that I glued down and the part that's been raised. Let's see. That looks to be pretty good. Okay, I'm going to stand up to do this to make sure I get this lined up good before I press it down. That looks pretty good. So that is also already very pretty with the green border and the inking, but I decided it needed something else. I just got these Paper Rose Studio embossed die cuts, Rainbow Garden insects, and I just thought it would be pretty to add some dragonflies to the card front. They punch right out, but what I did was I also cut the wings a little more, and I added some strips of adhesive there, so the wings are going to pop up and look like it's flying. I think I want the bigger one here, I think. I cut 3. Do we want 3? Usually we want a 3. I think this one will go up here. So I did put one glue dot on there, and then we'll take the covers off this adhesive. That's often the hardest part, right? I like to pop things up, but getting the covers off sometimes is a pain. And for this, something like this, I like the strips because the wings are rather narrow. So I have a pop dot in the middle there, glue dot, and then these are going to pop up. But let's see. Do I want it to come maybe down a little bit, huh? So put that down, and then these will be attached but raised up. And then we will take these off. And add a glue dot to the center of that one. So the center is down and the wings are kind of up. And then one more. I don't like to color, and when I saw these, I thought they were so pretty and they're already colored for me. So I can use stencils, I can use layering stencils, but not very good at coloring. Don't even like it. But I still love to make arts. One more. Okay. Add a glue dot to that one. And then I decided it just needed a few gems and we will be good. So I got my pretty Pinkfresh Studio gems out in purple, and we're going to add one to those parts of the purple crocus. I want the small ones. but they have to be turned over. There's one. Yep. We need the flat side down. So our pretty stenciled card is finished. I love how this card turned out and how the others turned out, all of them using the Waffle Flower Postage Collage die. I'm a little late getting on the Waffle Flower Postage Collage bandwagon, but I'm a very enthusiastic designer now, and they've announced they'll be adding to their postage collage line all year, so I can't wait to see what else they share with us. I hope my cards encourage you to give some of these ideas and products a try, and then send some of your handmade joy out into this world.